Today on Voices, my voice. Today's episode, I'm going to take time to reflect on the conversations that I've had and the growth that I've seen and the ambitions I have going forward for the future. So, without any further ado, let's go. All right, so the first take. My overall sense of how everything went. I absolutely loved it. I think I did 15 or 16 episodes with one, sometimes two people on the conversations, and they were great. The conversations, the pre-show conversations were absolutely fabulous. I'll give some highlights, not of like personal stuff, but I'll share some highlights of that stuff, and I was really excited and happy about how those things went, and I was very comfortable with the people. The 10 minutes, the 15 minutes that I did the work before with the people before the actual recording went into play was really fun, and I think the people appreciated that, and I really appreciated it too. Alex, how's it going, man?
Hey, what's going on? How are you?
Lou,
Good morning, Casey. How are you, sir?
doing well, man. How you doing?
I am excellent. I'm enjoying a wonderful Columbia morning. And yourself?
Good. I don't know about the humidity in Columbia, but it's nice and humid out here in Texas right now.
Whereabouts in Texas are you?
A little north of Houston.
Oh yeah. That's all the humidity down there.
All.
Hello?
Hey, I got in.
How, Matt,
What's up, brother?
how's it going, sir?
I'm good, man. I think the world doesn't want my opinion, which is why it was so hard to get me to to get it downloaded to be able to start recording.
No, well, the interesting thing about it is that the whole name of my podcast is Voice of My ...
All right, back up in it.
All right, and Donnie I don't know if Donnie on here or not, but Donnie was on here a little while ago too. So he got it sorted. So he just got to check his message and he can jump back in.
Yeah, there you go.
There it is.
Son.
All right, word.
There
You got to
it
work
is.
out the production problems. But yeah.
Chris, how's it going, man?
Yo, Lou. Okay, I wasn't sure if you were gonna get right into it. There we are. All right.
My second take. What went well? The feedback I got from the guest was absolutely amazing. The part that they started when I had the initial conversations about asking them to join me was a little bit apprehensive. But whenever every single person finished recording with me, I got immediate messages from them of that was really fun, that was easier than I thought. And it just shows the brilliance of the people that I know and I've been blessed to have in my life. And that's why the push to continue to do and magnify the voices of my brothers, sisters, of my people is so important. And I think that is really cool that feedback I got, if they enjoyed it, says a lot to me. I mean, we don't have to talk every day, but the fact that we had really a connecting moment of, hey, if we don't ever talk again, that was one hell of a conversation that we had, and it's archived in eternity, I hope. And that they can look back at that and say, well, we were connected on social media, but I remember that one time that we had a bomb conversation, and I'm happy that I have that memory. Take 3. So, what I'd like to improve. There's so many things, but I'm happy that I've started and I'm doing it. But the first one is editing. Oh my goodness, man. Like, the editing process takes probably 3 times the amount of time it takes to record. So if it takes like 45 minutes to an hour to record, it might take me 3 hours or more, just depending on what I hear after. And my goal when I do editing is to make the person who's volunteered their time to work with me, the guest, to sound as great as they possibly can, because it's about highlighting their voice. But second is just sort of editing me. Listening back at yourself and hearing uhs and ums and hearing how my voice inflects up and down based on, sort of my full-on engagement with the topic or the conversation, or my focus on specifically wanting to be a moderator, it is a very interesting thing to see and to hear, because it's a matter of how much focus I had, and knowing that I want to interview. I don't know if I want to interview long term, anything like that, but I love talking to people, man. And it's weird because I grew up as an only child, so I would guess I had more only child syndrome, where I want people to focus on my voice, but I love hearing what people are doing. But it's mainly because I like to take bits and pieces from each person, and I feel like they're parts of the puzzle that I'm putting together for my life. So with that, it's just a matter of knowing that I'm learning from someone else, and that's why I appreciate it more. But I try not to insert myself too terribly much into it, but I've loved really just making sure I try to stay fluid. So hearing myself, editing the recordings, taking the things out where I may have said something wrong, or I said way too many times, is really important. The last thing that I really think, I also said awesome, and that's great a lot too. So I try to get rid of those things because I want to make sure that it's coherent and it's fluent without sort of sounding false either. And the last thing that I think is that what I would like to improve is just the confidence to ask people to be guests. I know this is probably the most interesting thing, where either I got ghosted or I got yeses that were soft no's. The yeses of, hey, well, what's it about? What's your audience like, et cetera, et cetera. And in my mind, I'm like, dude, I just want to have a conversation with you, man. We haven't talked verbally maybe in a while, so I'd love to have a conversation with you, and it'll highlight some of the things and expertise you have. Well, I don't know. Well, let me hear some of your episodes so I can get comfortable. And it just makes me wonder, is it a rejection of me, or is it a rejection of the podcast, or they're waiting for Joe Rogan or somebody famous to do a podcast with them. And I just think it's interesting because while I may not be Joe Rogan or the other famous person, I am a person who stepped out on that branch of the tree of life and said, damn it, I'm going to talk to people. And so I'm excited about what I'm doing, but I have to make sure I check myself and maintain that confidence of, it's all right if people tell you no. It's all right if people ghost you, because when they do come around, I'm better than, hey, man, I'm going to hold it against them. I still want to have that conversation with them. Now, is my zeal and my energy to have that conversation with them going to stay? I'm unsure about that. Or will I be available? I'm unsure about that. But what I do know is the mentality that I've taken, which is not concrete or in blood or anything like that, is I'll ask a person 2 times. And after the second time, it's on them to get back to me if they want to have the conversation, because I'm asking multiple people at a time and I have to do all the editing. So I take it as the universe telling me, you know what, that person is unprepared for the interview, unprepared for the conversation, and it's best for your project to allow that person to be absent from it so you can feel good and champion that success that you want to have. So, the fourth take, my plans for growth. Well, I think it would be cool to have a co-host. If I don't have a co-host, that's cool. I'm going to continue to do it. Maybe I'll have some regular guests on. I like to have that, but I understand that calendars and schedules and so forth may be an issue. But my biggest plan for growth is, since I'm learning Spanish, since I speak Spanish on a daily, my goal is to start having more podcasts that are bilingual. and where maybe I'll have an entire podcast in Spanish, and native Spanish speakers will just kind of cringe their teeth, clench their jaws, and cringe at the way I pronounce things. But they'll understand what I'm saying, and they'll appreciate the growth, because I remember 3-4 years ago when I had zero Spanish and I had little post-it notes all around my house of what things are, and using that to try to learn Spanish, whereas now I have full conversations every single day in Spanish, and so I'm appreciative of that. So that's one plan, is definitely to have it bilingual in a conversation, maybe a whole podcast episode in Spanish. My next goal is to take these audios, because my goal is to keep this entirely audio, and the reason I wanted it to be audio is because I want you to be able to listen to this in the car when you're working out. I want you to not have to stare at your phone. I just want you to keep doing what you're doing, and then you can hear the words that my guest is saying and maybe I'm saying, and maybe just allow it to flow into your stream of consciousness. So that's why my focus is to stay audio. Audio has never gone away. Audio, I believe, will continue to be there for the long haul, so I'm going to stick with audio. But my goal is to take those audios and create YouTube videos with graphics and images to accompany the podcast. So the podcast will be available on YouTube and other sort of visual media streams, as well as the 9 podcast channels that Anchor distributes it to. And so I think that will be a really, really good thing to help with the growth, not only of the audience, but the growth of me as a person, having better and more insightful, powerful conversations with people. And the last point that I will likely do is I will likely advertise more. Anybody who does anything wants to be recognized for what they're doing. I think I had in one of the podcast episodes where we were talking about sort of having pinnacles in life, continually having trophies. I want to attribute that to Jackson, but I'm not sure. But I want my own little trophies too. Whenever I look at the listening numbers per month, per day, I want to see the numbers go up. That means, one, that I'm saying something that is interesting, but more importantly, I'm choosing people who have said yes to me, who are saying more intriguing things than me. So it makes me feel good about the decision-making process of the guests that I'm having. But also, who wouldn't want to be better? Who wouldn't want to be heard by more people? So yeah, that's my goal in the long run. Take 5. So, how I felt and how I feel. It's always an interesting thing, because I don't know about we, I'll say me. I have a myriad of feelings about stuff. I seldom act on my feelings as they come across, but I do have feelings. I do embrace them. I do think about them, and then think about what's the next thing, what's the best thing for me. So the first thing that I know I felt was I felt unsupported. But I know I just want more, and that's why I feel unsupported in a sense, because I have support, obviously, because people have agreed to do conversations with me, and people have listened to the podcast. But in the same breath, I can say, man, sometimes I really feel unsupported. And I think it just depends on the day, or maybe that I felt that the thing that I did was specifically powerful, and I felt like it should have more. So it's about ambition. And so feeling unsupported, I guess, can be a good thing. So while I might say, well, I feel unsupported, I still do it, right? And another thing that I feel felt is that I failed, like often, like, hey, man, this is a good thing. I think this can help this person. Or, man, I thought I didn't ask the questions that I could have asked, or I left some questions on the table. And with all of that, it's interesting, because for some reason I just keep trying. So I failed, and I tried, and I failed, and I tried again. I failed, and I tried again. And maybe I'm the dumb dude that keeps touching the electrical wire, Or maybe I'm the guy that Denzel Washington was talking to in that commencement speech he gave, who said, are you brave enough to fail? Because there's some people who aren't brave enough to fail. So, I guess I have the heart of a lion, since I know I've failed several times, and I keep wanting to do it. And people often say failure is learning, so I guess I'm an eternal learner. And I think the last thing that I really felt, and I still do feel, is I really suck at selling myself. I'm a firm believer that I have no need to convince another person to believe in or take stake in what I'm saying. I believe that the things that I'm doing have enough value and stock on the surface that you should believe in it. And that's why it's worth you just doing it. And I don't feel like I need to convince people. So, into take 6, personal projects. So, there's a couple of personal projects that I'm doing, and more than likely I'll have conversations with people about it, and maybe it ends up in a podcast, I don't know. But I know these are things that I have ambitions for. Like, for instance, one, I've been talking to one of my cousins about a brunch business. I think it's a brilliant idea that we've talked about, and I'm hoping to launch it within the next 30 days or so, even though the conversations I've had with my cousin are interesting, because while I like to partake in brunch, I think the way either she or maybe women view brunch is very different than how I view brunch. I just looked at it as, hey, I'm going to eat some food. It's a little bit before lunchtime, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm excited about the perspective and prospect of going forward with that. Also, I'm working on, which is also part of the reason I'm taking a break from this, is I'm working on a script for a short film. This idea has been in my head. I submitted the idea to a competition. The people thought the idea was really good, and it wasn't fully fleshed out. So, I mean, I'm fleshing it out now, and I hope to have the short film on YouTube and other kind of sort of video platforms. And I hope that begins my career as a storyteller. I'm excited because I have some other stories in mind. I'm also working on a graphic novel that is coupled with that short story, and I'm excited about that. I would like to collaborate with some people on that, especially some, comic book head people, but thus far my attempts have led to yeses but nos. But it's fine, because when I do get that yes but yes, it's going to be freaking magnificent, and I'm excited about what comes from that. I'm also working on a script/story for historical fiction. I'm really excited about that. If you know me, you know that I studied history. I love history. I love social sciences altogether. So this historical fiction is one that is kind of dear to my heart. I have reached out to a couple of people to collaborate on this, and I think they will. One for sure said they would once, sort of time allowed in their schedule. And I think they'll offer a pretty good and unique perspective based on an experience I don't necessarily have, but they kind of have a modern day version of what I'm looking for in this historical fiction. So I'm really excited about that project. The big thing, I got to sell these apps, man. I develop apps and web pages, and so it's funny. I've probably had 15 or 20 potential clients where we gotten to the point where it's time for them to start paying me money, and then all of a sudden they fall off the radar. They don't answer questions, and I've built my own websites and apps for my personal endeavors. So I either way, I'm getting practice in there. I'm excited. I'm if you pay attention to things I've been doing, I've been putting myself out there to learn more about coding and CS so I can become better, because I think computer science and programming is where everything is going. And I think if you choose to stay out of the educational loop on that, you're going to miss things, and you're just going to kind of be following along. So the innovation becomes different and difficult for you. So I'm looking forward to making money and doing a lot better than I've been doing with the mobile app business I have and the website business. So that's a project that I look to improve on. And finally, the book that I started, I think a year ago, maybe more. It's probably 2 years ago, on marriage. It's not like a marriage help book, because I don't know if I could help anybody with marriage. But just the story that is the follow-up story to the story of my last year teaching is the story of my last year married. Again, a fictional character. These are not me. These are stories that I've compiled from different people that I've talked to. It's sort of, I guess, the prequel to podcasting, as using voices from other people. And so it'll be a compilation of people in the life, or have told me either firsthand or I've heard secondhand about the last year of marriage and sort of the story of Simon Says. So I'm excited about doing that. And I think those personal projects, I hope to have them finished by the end of the year, because none of these things should take that long since they're all in process. So there's the personal projects. Take 7. So what I want. I think it's really, really important to put out there what I want, because yes, I'm doing a podcast, voices, all that stuff. But what do I want? Why am I even doing this? So the first thing, and I compiled the list that I think is fairly comprehensive. I tried to think it through. I was thinking and writing this while I was eating, so I think that's probably the best compilation of thoughts, is when you're eating and you feel full and fed, that you can put ideas, and there's the fluidity that comes from it. So the first thing that I want you to share what you're doing, and also share what I'm doing. I really would appreciate it. Based on how social networks work, it doesn't take anything but a touch to do a share. I think it takes maybe 2 seconds tops to share. And I promise you, I'm not giving you garbage. So I'll share for you, you share for me, share for your friends too. Put a word out there for the people in your life that are doing things, because you have to do things. The fact that they're trying has added something to the universe. The next thing that I want is feedback. Feedback is so awesome. Even the funny thing is, I was going to say no negative, but even negative feedback, because you want to hear it. You want to hear the constructive criticism. You want to hear the positive, and maybe you want to hear the haters. You want to hear the haters, because then when you can figure out the root of what the quote unquote haters are saying, you can understand what you're doing and how to even be better and do more. It's kind of like the Cat Williams thing said, even though I don't actually want any haters, if I'm not gaining haters, then I'm doing something wrong with life. Tomorrow I want to have 10 more haters, and I think that's an interesting concept, but I think it's real. I want to feel and be successful, because those are separate things. To feel successful and to be successful may not mutually coexist. And I think that's important. So I want to feel successful in my endeavors, because that affects your spirit. But then I want to be successful. I want the tangible things from it, so I can have the marriage of the feeling and the byproduct. And so it's sort of like, I guess, making a baby, right? You had the feeling of making the baby, and then the baby came out and it was beautiful. So yeah, I want my success baby. I want to help you. And I want to be a help to you. I try to help people, and I understand that sometimes I help people more than they help me directly, because indirectly everyone helps each other. But I want to help you, and hopefully you'll want to help me as well, because I think that's really, really important. Because I can pour from my cup until there's nothing in it. And then if you expect me to pour from my cup with nothing, I'm just pouring air into the cup, and you already had air. So how about you make sure that, hey, before you ask for help, hey man, are you good? Is your glass full? Are you able to help? Can you give? And let them be honest and accept the no's if they can't, or help them refuel and bring those levels up to where they can help not only themselves but other people. But definitely help is super, super important. I want real relationships. I have a lot of relationships in my life, but there's sort of that outside ancillary stuff. I don't feel terribly connected. I would like to be more connected with people. I blame no one. It's mutually faulted in that thing where it's my fault and it's their fault, and I own, like, I'm on the move. Nobody really knows what my next moves are. That's because sometimes I don't know what my next moves are, and the universe is just laying a path, and it reveals itself sometimes well in advance. Sometimes it reveals itself in the moment. But I want real relationships. I want to know what's going on with you, and this is the reason why I actually feel motivated to do this podcast. Is I mentioned it before in one of the episodes. I want to share what you're doing. I want to have a conversation with you. I want to take social media to the next thing. And people are like, oh, social media is bad. Yeah, it's bad if you allow it to be bad, but I'm going to use it and make sure that I'm social with my media with you, and make sure that your voice and your plans and your things are being projected from the loudspeaker that I offer and from the loudspeaker that you offer. I want us to rise together, because, I'm going to misquote it, but it's something about, whenever the water comes in, it rises all the boats or something like that. Well, I want everyone's boat to rise, because the thing about it is that people live in fear. There's a shortage consciousness out there. And so if I'm rising up, I want to pull you up with me. But if you're rising up, I ask that, look out for me too, man. I'd appreciate it. I want to go up. I want to be able to do things with you. I might not be able to do it with you all the time, but I want to be able to do things with you. So if I'm traveling, I want you to say, hey, I can travel. If you're traveling, I want to be like, hey, I might not be able to do every day, but I can do it. An example is I had a coworker that I worked with at a school I worked with last year, and he went to an island for the vacation week we had. And he said, hey, man, what are you doing? And I didn't have any plans. So I looked, and, lo and behold, no coincidences. There was a really inexpensive ticket for 2 days. He stayed for 7. I went there. I was there for 2 days. Absolutely marvelous. And the thing about it is comparison is the greatest disrespect you can give to yourself, because my 2 days was enough for me to understand and appreciate what he also experienced in 7 days. It was a new event for me. It gave me the yearning to go do it again, and it gave me education that I didn't have anymore. So, while I only did 2 and he did 7, I think it's really cool because I got to experience it. And sometimes all you need is to dip your toes in the water to understand, man, this pool is kind of cool. Next, I want to be happy. Every day is a different day. Every moment is a different moment. And the people that I actually talk to on a regular who know me seldom hear me say negative things. And I pride myself in that, because I'm aware of the negative things in the world, and I try to be an actively participant in my life as to find the positives from the negative things that may exist, because energy is energy, and it's a matter of you, or when you receive it, which end of your battery are you receiving it. If you're receiving it from the negative end, you got to shoot it out that positive end to power your light. And so I think it's important that I am happy, and there's a lot of things that I would like to do in my life, and so all the other things that I wanted as wants are part of the happiness thing. And sometimes silence is a part of the happiness, but I feel like I want to be connected to my people more. So that's my goal. And if you can help me with my happiness, I would greatly appreciate it. But the last and the most important thing is I want your voice. What you have to say is really, really important. And if we can put it on a platform that's free and public, then let's do that. And the thing about it is that we can think and wait. Are we going to wait for a celebrity to say something for it to resonate? Or are we going to say it and go from there? We can inspire our world if we choose to inspire our world. So the first and most powerful thing that your body was given was a voice. And I think your voice will take you so much further. So that's the last and most significant thing I want from you is your voice. And I hope when I ask you for it, we're able to schedule a time and we can collab for that 30 to 45, maybe an hour time to project into the world that positive energy and make the universe know we're here. The final take. I've enjoyed doing this podcast review. I've been doing it since 2018, so it's about 2 years now, and I'm excited that I even chose to do it. I've seen the evolution and growth of what I started as, and I have a new, improved vision of what I want, and I think that's great, but I had to go out there and do it and try. So if you're paying attention, you see sort of that I tried to couple the themes of what I was doing every week when I put them out for the 7-8 weeks that I put podcasts out. And so the next topics that are coming, the next topics are nursing. It's a very interesting one that I've had some conversations with, and I look forward to having that conversation with a person who's a more significant expert at nursing than me. Art. The art one is really, really exciting for me because just who it is that is going to contribute to that. They're going to offer art in so many ways that I think that it may motivate you to either step in the field or jump full head in to support them. Franchises are kind of the lifeblood of industry because some people may not know how to start their own business, so jumping in the franchises is sort of a segue to finding your way. The military has done a lot for me in my life. It opened a lot of doors that I didn't think it would open, and I remember when I first had thoughts about the military and how I was like, no, I'm not doing it, and then I did it. Music is freaking the soundtrack of life, and I think music is beautiful. I remember at one point in time when I wanted to write music, and then I heard myself sing, and then I laughed. And so I'm looking forward to the music contribution that I help put into the universe with the collaboration of other people. Politics. I love politics. I avoided politics for the entire 15, 16 recordings that I did prior to this one because I wanted to be in a different space. I wanted to focus on some different things and have a more solid foundation with guests and listeners before I delve into politics. I'm pretty nonpartisan, but politics is something that gets people sometimes into their feelings. So I wanted to make sure that people kind of had an idea of who I was and how I thought before I stepped into the political forum of opinions. Sports is always there for me. I love sports. I'm looking forward to doing another sports one, and that will really be cool. Reunions. You've heard at least one episode where it was a reunion, but all of them were sort of reunions. And so I'm looking forward to doing a couple of more reunion episodes with some people that I've had fond memories and events with, and we can have a few more laughs and feel a bit of nostalgia while also showing the growth of who we are in the present time. And finally, travel. I love travel. I'm trying to find a way to make travel not only affordable but accessible for more and more people, because I think traveling opens your mind where it either cements you or entrenches you further in what you already knew, or it blows the walls off of what you were entrenched in, and it allows you to see there's so much more out there. Neither one is better than the other, but I think travel does something for the mentality and mindset of people. So those are the next topics for the podcast coming up around December time frame. And I thank you for listening and being active participants in the growth project that I have going on. And I hope that you will be a part of the growth project with me, and you probably will experience growth as well as I will. So I have 2 exit notes. They're interesting and they're also random, but I love these 2 exit notes. So I walk in the street and I think this all the time. The first one was, dogs' behaviors tells you volumes about the people in a city. Now just think about that for a second. The behavior of dogs tells you about tells you volumes about the people in the city. I think that's really, really true. And so you let that be what it is. But in my opinion, based on my travels, dogs really tell you a whole lot about people in the city. And my second exit note, and then I'm gone. And I will talk to you again in probably December. SpongeBob has a meme for everything. So the creators of SpongeBob, whatever art they were on, whatever thing that helped them come up and create the storylines, the scripts, the animation, the images for SpongeBob, these people are visionaries. And so I might go back and watch SpongeBob because I've actually never watched a full episode. I've watched bits and pieces. But I'm going to go watch some SpongeBob to see what it can forecast for the future for me. Because, memes are going nowhere. So it's going to be more fun. But SpongeBob has a meme for everything. With that, much love to you. And until next time, I look forward to hearing your voice.